Kuf Yud Zayin Amid Beis, or begin Daf Kuf Yud Zayin Amid Aleph, 3 lines from the bottom. We learned previously that Rav Chisda said that Halukah in Tehillim, when you have Halukah, then that signifies the end of the previous parak. So when you have a parak that ends with Halukah, the Halukah is the ending of that parak. Rabbi Bar Rav Huna said, no, the Halukah really belongs to the beginning of the next parak. It's the beginning of the parak that's coming. So Zok the Gemara, Nemek Tanoi. Let's say that this machlokes between them is really machlokes Tanoi, because we learned in the Mishnah in the first segment of Halo that is said before the Suda. What does he say? Where does he say up until? They say until Eim Abanim Smecha, the end of the first segment, the first parak. But they say until the end of the second segment. So that's the way we learned it in the Mishnah. We learned it the Brayso said Heichon Omer Beishamai Oimrim Ad B'Tzeis Yisrael Mitzrayim. So according to this version, Beishamai says until B'Tzeis Yisrael, and Beis Hillel Oimrim Ad Loi Lanu Hashem Loi Lanu. So now, according to the version of the Brayso, then they say, according to Beishamai, they say until Ad B'Tzeis Yisrael Mitzrayim. And Beis Hillel says, so Maila Ba'akamifliki. So what is the machlokes? Now Beis Shammai says, according to both versions, Beis Shammai says the first parak, and Beis Hillel says that it's also the second parak. So why does the Mishnah, the Tana of the Mishnah, say that Eim Abanim Smecha, and why do they say until there? And the Brayso says B'Tzeis Yisrael. So Laman Damar Ad Eim Abanim Samecha. The Tana of the Mishnah that says that you say it until Eim Abanim Samecha must be that Savar Halaluka Reish Pirka. He must be that he holds that the Halukah belongs to the next parak. So therefore he says you say it until Ad Eim Abanim Samecha, because Halaluka belongs to the next parak, so that's where it ends. Man Damar Ad B'Tzeis Yisrael, and the Tana of the Brayso that says Ad B'Tzeis Yisrael, Savar Halaluka Seif Pirka. He says that the Halaluka is the end of the parak, so therefore you start B'Tzeis Yisrael. Rav Chisda Metaris L'Tamei, the Gemara says no. We don't have to say it's a machlokes tanoim. We can say that the Amoraim would learn that it's not a machlokes tanoim. Each one would answer it according to his version. Rav Chisda Metaris L'Tamei, he would answer according to his opinion. He says the Kol Yom Savar Haluka Seif Pirka. Really, I'll tell you, he says that everyone holds that Haluka is the end of the parak. So therefore, Man Damar Ad B'Tzeis Yisrael, Shapir, the one that says Ad B'Tzeis Yisrael, is Shapir, because he says that until B'Tzeis Yisrael, meaning he says the first capital, including Halaluka, because Halaluka belongs with the Eim Abanim Smecha, and he says it till there. So we understand that that's why it says that he says until B'Tzeis Yisrael. Uman Damar Ad Eim Abanim Smecha. The Tana of the Mishnah says that it's mentioned Ad Eim Abanim Smecha because he says Ad Vad B'Chalal. So therefore, you can't say Ad B'Tzeis Yisrael, because if it said Ad B'Tzeis Yisrael, Ad means inclusive. It would mean including the capital of B'Tzeis Yisrael, which is not the case. So therefore, it can't say Ad B'Tzeis. That's why it says Ad Eim Abanim Smecha. Well, why does he say Ad Eim Abanim Smecha then say Halaluka? So it's true, we would understand according to this why he wouldn't say Ad B'Tzeis Yisrael, but why not say Halaluka if Halaluka is the end of the previous parak? If we just had Halaluka, which Halaluka, we wouldn't know. Then what says no, V'neima Halaluka shall Eim Abanim Smecha. Let's say that Halaluka. Why does he say Eim Abanim Smecha if Halaluka is part of that capital kasha? It's a kasha. Rabbi Bar Rav Huna Metaris L'Tamei, he would also answer according to his opinion that the Kol Yom Halaluka Reish Pirka. Everyone would agree that Halaluka is the beginning of the next parak. So therefore, Man Domar Ad Eim Abanim Smecha Shapir, we understand that Man Domar, the Tana of the Mishnah, because that's where it ends. Eim Abanim Smecha. Halaluka belongs to the next parak. Uman Damar Ad B'Tzeis Yisrael, the one says Ad B'Tzeis Yisrael. Why does he say Ad B'Tzeis Yisrael? because Savar Ad V'loy Ad B'chlal. So he holds Ad V'loy Ad B'chlal, and therefore it doesn't include B'Tzeis Yisrael. So he says you say it until Ad B'Tzeis Yisrael, because that would not imply that it includes that capital. But V'Neima Ad Halaluka. Why shouldn't you say Ad Halaluka? If Halaluka holds that it's the beginning of the next parak, then say Ad Halaluka, which is the beginning of this next parak. Maybe you'll say also, well, it says Halaluka, which Halaluka? We wouldn't know. No, the Gemara says no. V'Neima Ad Halaluka shall B'Tzeis Yisrael. Say the Halaluka B'Tzeis Yisrael. Why does he say B'Tzeis Yisrael if the Halaluka is part of that parak kasha? Then the Mishnah says, then we, at this segment of the Seder, then we finish off, we do a chasima with a bracha of Geula, that Hashem, praising Hashem for redeeming us from Mitzrayim. So, the more now brings different brachas of Halaluka, of redemption. Omar Rava, Kriya Shema v'Halal, Goal Yisrael. When we say in the bracha of Kriya Shema, and we say in Hallel, and when we complete the Hallel, the bracha is Goal Yisrael. In the past tense, that we praise Hashem for having redeemed us. But Slusa, when we say the bracha in Shemona Esrei, it's Goyal Yisrael. The bracha in Shemona Esrei is Goyal, that it's not in the past tense, it's Goal Yisrael. It is more in the future, that we're talking not only a praise in the past, but it's referring to that Hashem should redeem us. My time, the Rachmin Nenu, because Shemona Esrei is Rachman. We're asking Rachman from Hashem, mercy from Hashem. So we're asking that He should redeem us. So that's appropriate for Shemona Esrei. Amr Zera, the Kedusha, Asher Kiddushanu b'Mitzosav. When we say in Kiddush, that we say the Nusach in Kiddush, we say that Asher Kiddushanu, that Hashem, He sanctified us with the mitzvahs. The Slusa Kachenu Esasav. And Shemona Esrei is that we say in the future. We say Kachenu b'Mitzosav. Sanctify us with your mitzvahs. The future. My time at the Rachmin. Again, the same concept. It's Rachmin. We're asking that Hashem should be Mekadosh us. So when we say it in Kiddush, it's praising. In Shemona Esrei, it's a asking. It's a request. When we say Kiddush Hayom in Kiddush, we have to mention Yetzias Mitzrayim. Why is that? It says that you should remember Yom Tzeias Chomeres Mitzrayim. Uksiv Hasam Azachar Es Yom HaShabbos L'Kadoshay. It says in reference to Shabbos, Zachar Es Yom HaShabbos L'Kadoshay. So it says the Lashon of Zechira, remembering in both places. Therefore, in Shabbos we have to mention Yetzias Mitzrayim. Taisus brings down that he says that there's a medrash, the Maram, he hears from the Maram that there's a medrash that in Mitzrayim, Avdu, the Mitzrayim, where they caused Bnei Israel servitude, Avodas Parach. And it says Parach, you take the Lashonos of the Parach of Parach, Ba'at Bash, it's when you transfer the letters with the gematria of Atbash, meaning the first letter is exchanged for the last letter. The second base is for the shin. So when you do that, and you have the reish is with the gimel. So then when you transfer these letters of Befarach, then you transfer with the oisias of Atbash, then it will come out to the letters of Vigal. So it'll come out to the letters of Vigal, then you have Parach becomes Vigal. Vav Gimel Lamed. And Vav Gimel Lamed, the total gematria of Vav Gimel Lamed, Vav is 6, and Gimel is 3, that's 9, Lamed is 30, that's 39. That corresponds to the Lamed Tes Malachas. So therefore, we mentioned that they have the Shibur in Mitzrayim Beforach. Therefore, it's a reference that they were redeemed from Mitzrayim, that were Muzar on Shabbos that has a shvisa from the 39 halachas. So we mentioned Mitzrayim in the Kiddush Hayom. When we mention the bracha in Shemona Esrei regarding Malchus Beis Dovid, the nusach of the bracha is Matzmiach Keren Yeshua. That the bracha is that you cause the pride of Matzmiach Keren Yeshua, of the pride of the Yeshua to grow, to flourish, to be Matzmiach, to flourish. The Haftarah is Magen Dovid, and Haftarah is Magen Dovid, the shield of Dovid. Now, so in the Shemona Esrei, as the Rishonim speak out, in Shemona Esrei, it's also a lashon of bakasha. It's a lashon of tzlusa, and so therefore it should be in the way that is we talk about asking and for Keren Yeshua, and it should be also encompassing also the Yeshua for Klal Yisrael. That's the way the Rishmam explains it. But in Haftarah, it's not a bakasha, it's Magen Dovid. It says, Rebbeinu Shalom said to Dovid HaMelech, V'asis l'cha Hashem agadol kashem hagadolim, I will give you a great name, a great reputation, like the great ones, meaning the great ones are the Avos, honor of Yosef, Zesh, Amin Magen Dovid. That teaches that you say Magen Dovid. Just like by the Avos in Shemona Esrei, we mentioned the Avos, and it concludes Magen Avram. We also mentioned Magen Dovid. Amar Rishon ben Lakish Ezcha L'Goy Gadol. When Shem said to Avram Avinu, I'll make you into a great nation. Zeh Shomim Elokei Avram. That in Shemona Esrei we say Elokei Avram. Va'avarechecha. It says, I will give you a bracha. Zeh Shomim Elokei Yitzchak. We also mentioned Yitzchak. Va'gadol Shemecha, I will make your name great. So Sha'imrim Malakei Yaakov. Yaakov Chaisim B'Kul. You might think that the conclusion of the Chasim of the bracha is with all of them. Talmud Laimar Ve'hei bracha. It says to Avram Ve'hei bracha that you shall be a bracha. V'cha Chaisim Ve'in Chaisim B'Kul. The Chasim of the bracha is dafka with Avram and not with the other ones. Omer Rava Ashkhin Televei Lasavi the Pumbedisa Yasik Amra encountered the some of the elders of Pumbedisa. They were saying Bishops on Shabbos, the nusach is bein b'sleisa, bein b'kedusha, whether it's in Shemona Esrei, the kiddush is mekadosh Shabbos. The nusach is mekadosh Shabbos. B'yom Tova on Yom Tov, bein b'sloisa, bein b'kedusha, mekadosh Yisrael. V'azman we mention the Yisrael, mekadosh Yisrael, the Hashem, that he was a mekadosh Yisrael and the Yom Tov. And this man, V'aminu lo, and he said, I said to them, Adra, just the opposite. Did Shloisa on the Shemona Esrei, bein b'Shabbos, bein b'Yom Tova, mekadosh Yisrael. You say Yisrael b'Kiddusha the Shabbos and b'Kadosh Shabbos, on Kiddush Shabbos b'Kadosh Shabbos, b'Yom Tov b'Kadosh Yisrael asmanim. Now the Gemara will explain. V'amina avano amina Talmud didi v'Talmud ditchu. And he said, I'll say my reason and yours. Talmud ditchu. What's your reasoning? Because Shabbos t'kvi v'kaima. Shabbos is fixed. You don't need Bezdin to establish the day of Shabbos. Shabbos comes automatically. It's fixed from the Sheshes Meiberations. So, therefore, Shabbos is the Kaviyah, the Kaviyah Kaima, Ben B'Sleisa, Ben B'Kedusha, Mekadosh Shabbos. Therefore, you say Mekadosh Shabbos. You don't mention Yisrael. Yisrael didn't make the day of Shabbos. It's Mekadosh Shabbos, Hashem, who is Mekadosh the day. Yom Tov Yisrael the Kaviyah. But on Yom Tov, it's Yisrael that have to establish the Bezin has to be Kaviyah the days of the month. The Kaviyah the Archa. They have to Kaviyah the days of the month. So therefore, they say Yisrael Yom Tov Yisrael the Kaviyah Kama Avra Yarcha v'Kaviyah Shana. They make months Iber and every month they make an Iber Yar and a Chodesh Mole, Chodesh Choser, an Iber Yar. Then it's totally on Bezin, on Yisrael. We say Mekadosh Yisrael v'Azmanim. So that's your reasoning. Taima Didi, what's my reasoning? Shloisa the Barabim is Shemona Esrei that it said Barabim. Therefore, you mention on the Rabbim. The Rabbim of Yidden, of Yisrael, Mekadosh Yisrael, you mentioned Mekadosh Yisrael. Kiddusha, the B'Yachid is about Kiddush, you say privately, you say at home, then therefore you say, Shabbos Mekadosh Shabbos, you don't mention Yisrael, Shabbos Mekadosh, Shabbos v'yontiv Mekadosh Yisrael v'hazmanim. But you don't mention Yisrael. But the Gemara says, v'loi sleisu b'yachid mi'ilasa, isn't there Shemana Esrei also in private? It's not Davka, it's not only Barabim, Kiddush Barabim Milasa, and don't we have Kiddush sometime Barabim, and therefore that should not be the Chilik. So the Chilik should be is who is Mekadesh the day. By Yontiv is Yisrael, they're Mekadesh because they established the months, and by Shabbos they don't, so we don't mention Yisrael. Rava but Rava holds that's true that we do have exceptions, but the Iker is that Shemana Esrei is Barabim, and the Iker is that Kiddush is B'Yachid. Ula Barav Nachis coming to Rava, he was a Baltfil in front of Rava. Al Marcus Havid the Pumadisa. He held like the Havid the Pumadisa that on the Yontav he mentioned Yisrael, but not on Shabbos. And Rava didn't say anything, he didn't object. Alma, Hadabe Rava, must be that he retracted and he accepted the views of the Pumadisa. Rav Nasan Avud, the Rav Hunabri, the Rav Nasan, Nachas Kami, the Rav Papa. He was about Tefillah before Rav Papa. Alma, Kasavi, the Pumadisa. So he did the Nusach, he said it like the Savi Pumadisa. Vishavri Rav Papa. And Rav Papa praised him. Omar Ravina, Ano Iklala Surah Kami, the Marema. He said, I once went to Surah to visit, and I was in front of Marema. The Nachis Kami Shlucha Tzitzibura Vamrik Savitu Medisa. And the Baal Tefillah went before him, and he said the Nusach like the Savitu Medisa. V'hamishatzka Kuli Alma, and all the people in the Tzibur, they silenced him. Omer Lahu, Marema said to them, Shavkua. He said, leave him alone, let him be. Hilchasok Savitu Medisa. He said, the halach like some Pumadisa, so what he was saying was correct. And they didn't continue to silence him, they let him be. So that is the halacha like some Pumadisa.